Welcome back to the Quarterly Call. All content is for informational purposes and is not investment advice. Please consult with an investment professional.
Absolutely. Always good to remind folks of that.
All right, so let's dive in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Today, we're breaking down Tesla's latest earnings call. And let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, no shortage of big news and bold predictions from Elon as usual.
For sure. So if you're interested in the future of AI, robots, all that, and sustainable transportation, oh, you're going to want to stick around for this one.
Buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
So first up, let's talk about those record deliveries. Tesla is aiming for an annual production rate of nearly 2 million vehicles.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. That's a ton of cars.
Right. Like, just imagine the logistics of producing that many vehicles.
It's a massive undertaking, and they actually hit that target, but there's a catch.
Yeah, there's always a catch, right?
Right. Battery production is becoming a major bottleneck.
Oh, that's right. They're hitting some roadblocks there.
Yeah, it's not just a Tesla problem either. It's an industry-wide issue. Demand for EVs is skyrocketing, and battery production just can't keep up.
So what does that mean for someone, let's say, who's eagerly awaiting their new Model Y? Are we talking like serious delays?
Well, they might be waiting a bit longer than expected, and it's not just delays. This battery shortage could also push up the price of electric vehicles across the board.
Okay, so that's definitely something to consider if you're thinking about going electric.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to another big headline, the Model Y becoming the world's best-selling vehicle in 2024. It beat out every other car, not just electric ones.
It's a huge milestone. The world's top-selling car is now electric. That really shows you how consumer preferences are changing and what direction the automotive industry is headed in.
For sure, it's a major shift. Okay, now let's talk about, well, the thing that seems to be the real game changer, at least according to Elon Musk. Tesla's full self-driving technology, or FSD. He's claiming it'll make Tesla the most valuable company in the world.
Right. He's really doubling down on that. And, Musk has a knack for making bold predictions.
He does. He really does.
But his vision for FSD is fascinating. Imagine cars that can be used almost 24/7, earning money for you by giving rides or making deliveries even while you're sleeping.
That sounds so futuristic, but it's hard to imagine, sharing the road with all these driverless cars.
Yeah, and Tesla's not shying away from it. They're actually launching an unsupervised FSD service in Austin, Texas later this year. So that means no one behind the wheel at all.
Wow, that's a big step. So all eyes are going to be on Austin to see how that plays out.
Definitely. It's a high-stakes bet for sure.
All right, now on to something completely different, the Optimus robot.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting and maybe a little bit sci-fi.
So walk us through this. What is Optimus?
Well, it's a humanoid robot that Musk believes has the potential to be a bigger business than Tesla's cars. He even threw out a number, like a potential $10 trillion market.
$10 trillion. Really? That's more than, like, a lot of countries' GDPs.
I know, right? It's a mind-boggling number. But the idea is that these robots could eventually take over jobs that are dangerous, repetitive, things that humans don't really want to do.
Yeah, so like picture robots working in factories or doing construction or even like helping out around the house. It's kind of a crazy thought.
It is, and it definitely raises a ton of questions about the future of work and, the role of AI in our lives.
Right, like what happens to all those jobs if robots take over?
Exactly. These are big questions that we need to be thinking about as this technology develops.
All right, well, we've covered self-driving cars and humanoid robots. What about the Tesla Semi? It seems to get a bit lost in the shuffle sometimes with all these other announcements.
Yeah, it doesn't always get the same fanfare, but Musk sees it as a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, especially with the current shortage of truck drivers. He believes autonomous electric trucks are the way to go.
And it makes sense. I mean, think about it. Quieter, more efficient transportation, potentially even safer.
Definitely. And while all the attention is on the robots and self-driving cars, the Tesla Semi could end up quietly revolutionizing, well, the whole trucking industry.
Yeah, it's like a silent disruptor.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about deliveries, batteries, self-driving, robots, and electric trucks. Anything else from the call that really stood out to you?
Well, there was one other interesting tidbit for folks who own a Tesla, particularly those who bought the full self-driving package with the older Hardware 3 computer.
Oh, right. The news about needing a hardware upgrade to get all the FSD features.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a bummer for those early adopters. But it really highlights how quickly technology moves. What's cutting edge today might be outdated tomorrow.
It's a good reminder that embracing new technology sometimes means you got to be ready to invest in upgrades down the line.
Absolutely.
So while robots and self-driving might be getting all the attention, there was a brief mention of the solar roof too.
Right. Musk reaffirmed their commitment to it, as part of their sustainable energy solution for homes. They're focusing on partnering with certified installers to expand their reach, which is a smart move, I think.
Yeah, it could definitely make it more accessible to a wider audience.
Yeah.
So even though it might not be as buzzy as some of those other projects, the solar roof is still a key part of, well, Tesla's vision for a more sustainable future.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that Tesla isn't just a car company. They're an energy company, a tech company, and a company that's always pushing the boundaries.
All right, so I think it's safe to say this earnings call was a whirlwind of like huge announcements and even bigger predictions.
It was.
It's clear Tesla's going all in on a future where, you know, AI, robots, and sustainable transportation are all intertwined. But before we get, too far ahead of ourselves, maybe we should take a closer look at some of these key takeaways and what they really mean for our listeners.
Yeah, let's break it down a bit and see how this could impact people's everyday lives.
Sounds good.
Hmm.
So let's start with those record deliveries and that looming battery production challenge.
All right, so let's go back to those record deliveries for a minute. It's impressive, but that battery production issue, it's a real hurdle. It's a big deal for Tesla's growth.
Yeah, it's like they're making all these cars, but without enough batteries, it's kind of like having a car factory with no engines, right?
It is, it is. And, it's not just about making more batteries, it's also about developing new battery technology, like that 4680 cell they've been talking about.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'd almost forgotten about that.
Well, it's designed to be more efficient, less expensive to produce, all that good stuff.
So could this new tech be the key? Like, could it be what unlocks even faster production? And maybe even, brings down prices for EVs in general.
Well, that's certainly the hope. And remember, it's not just about cars either. Tesla's also making those, huge megapack batteries for utility scale energy storage.
Right, and the Powerwall for homes, too.
Exactly. And the demand for those is only going up as the world shifts towards renewables, right? So Tesla's facing this battery challenge on like multiple fronts.
Yeah, it's a pretty high-stakes game.
Yeah.
But if they figure it out, if they can crack that code on efficient and affordable battery production, well, it could be huge. It could change the whole energy sector.
Oh, absolutely. It's a big if, but the potential is massive.
All right, let's shift gears for a second and talk about full self-driving. I mean, Musk is super bullish on it, obviously, but there are definitely some skeptics out there. Is it really as close as he claims?
Well, to be fair, he has made some bold predictions in the past that haven't always, materialized exactly on his timeline.
That's true. That's true. He's known for that.
But you can't deny that Tesla has made some pretty significant strides with FSD, and
Yeah.
that plan to launch an unsupervised FSD service in Austin, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Just imagine sharing the road with all these cars driving themselves around with no one inside.
Ah.
I mean, it's a little freaky to think about.
It is, a little bit. It's definitely going to attract a lot of attention and scrutiny for sure. I mean, if it's successful, it could really accelerate the adoption of autonomous vehicles, across the board. But if there are any, high-profile incidents, it could set the whole industry back.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward kind of situation.
It is, it is. But even with all the buzz around FSD, we can't forget about that other big announcement, the Optimus robot.
Oh, right, Optimus. I almost
Right?
forgot. Yeah, some of those claims about it were pretty wild.
They were, weren't they? He's basically saying it's going to be bigger than their car business, that it's going to revolutionize labor.
Yeah, he even said something like it could be worth more than all of Tesla's current operations combined. I mean, is
Yeah.
that even realistic? Or is that just, typical Elon hype?
I mean, who knows? It's tough to say at this point. But, the idea of having all these humanoid robots performing tasks, dangerous tasks, boring tasks, things humans don't want to do.
Like working those giant factories or, I don't know, cleaning up toxic waste or something?
Right, exactly. It's a pretty fascinating concept. It's also, well, a little bit unsettling if you think about it too much.
Yeah, for sure. And then there are all those questions about, and what happens to those jobs? And how do we make sure this technology is used ethically? All of that.
Absolutely. Those are crucial questions that we need to start thinking about, like, now, before it's too late.
So we've got self-driving cars, humanoid robots. What about the Tesla Semi? It feels like it kind of gets overshadowed sometimes by all the other, flashier announcements.
It does, but it has the potential to be a real disruptor in the trucking industry. Musk pointed out that driver shortage, And he really seems to believe that autonomous electric trucks are the solution.
It's a logical step, right? I mean, especially with all the emphasis on making transportation more efficient, more sustainable.
Right. Exactly. Imagine a world where all those goods are transported, you know, quietly, efficiently, no need for human drivers.
Yeah, that's pretty wild to think about. So while everyone's focused on robots and self-driving cars, the Tesla Semi could kind of quietly revolutionize the way we transport everything. I mean,
Yeah.
everything from groceries to, I don't know, building materials, everything.
Yeah, it's a quiet revolution, but a revolution nonetheless.
Okay, so we've touched on deliveries, batteries, self-driving robots, and those electric trucks. Anything else from the call that really stuck with you?
There was that interesting bit about the hardware upgrade, the one for those Tesla owners who bought the full self-driving package, but with the older Hardware 3 computer.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, that wasn't great news for those folks. Having to pay for an upgrade after already shelling out, a good chunk of change for the car.
Yeah, not ideal, but it just shows you how fast things change in the tech world. What's considered top of the line today could be, well, obsolete tomorrow. It's just the nature of the game.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that, when you're embracing new tech, you got to be prepared to keep investing in it as it evolves.
Exactly. It's the price we pay for being on the cutting edge, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about staying ahead of the curve, what about the solar roof?
Yeah.
I mean, Musk didn't talk about it a whole lot during the call, but he did say they're still committed to it.
Right, he did. He reiterated that it's still a key part of their whole sustainable energy solution for homes. And that shift in strategy, focusing on working with those certified installers to, reach more people, I think that's a good move.
It is. It could really open it up to a much wider audience.
Yeah, for sure. So even though it might not be getting as much buzz as those other projects, the solar roof is still an important part of Tesla's vision for, a greener future.
Okay, so big picture, like it's clear Tesla is a company that's constantly pushing the envelope. They're not afraid to take risks, and they have a very clear vision for the future.
They do, and that vision is one where technology is used to, tackle some of the world's most pressing problems. It's an ambitious vision, that's for sure.
This earnings call gave us a glimpse into that vision, a future where AI, robots, and sustainable energy are all connected.
And it's a future that's both exciting and, well, maybe a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
For sure. And we'll be here to break it all down every step of the way.
Absolutely. Now, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on all of this? Are you excited about Tesla's vision for the future? Are you skeptical? Or, somewhere in between? Let us know in the comments. We always love hearing from you. All right. So we've covered a ton of ground here talking about Tesla's latest earnings call.
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
mean, from record deliveries to, robots that could potentially change the entire workforce.
It's been a wild ride for sure.
It has. It has. So let's take a step back for a second and think about what all this means, for you, our listeners.
Yeah, good idea.
What are the things you should be paying attention to in the coming months, the coming years, when it comes to all of this?
Well, if you're thinking about buying an electric car, that battery shortage is something to keep in mind. It's not just a Tesla problem, it's industry-wide. So that means, you might be waiting longer for that car you've got your eye on and potentially paying a higher price too.
So patience is key for those who are, ready to make that jump to electric car.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about full self-driving for a minute. It's both exciting and controversial, right?
Definitely. Musk is obviously super confident in FSD, but I think it's important to remember that there are still some hurdles to overcome. There are questions about safety and regulations, and of course, the ethics of letting machines make, well, life or death decisions on the road.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big one. And it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, especially with that plan to launch the unsupervised FSD service in Austin.
Yeah.
It's a bold move. It could
Yeah.
either, be the start of a truly driverless future.
Or it could expose some major flaws in the technology.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So high stakes for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who already own a Tesla, specifically one with that Hardware 3 computer, that hardware upgrade is something to keep on your radar.
Yeah, it's not exactly ideal to have to spend more money, after already buying a car that wasn't exactly cheap.
Right.
But it also just goes to show how fast technology evolves. What's considered, cutting edge today could be outdated in a year, even less. It's just, well, it's how things work in the tech world.
That's true. That's true. Now, all right, so let's talk about, well, I guess you could say the elephant in the room. Or maybe
Yeah.
the robot in the room, Optimus.
Yeah, Optimus. Musk's vision for it is incredibly ambitious. He's basically saying it'll be a bigger business than their cars eventually. And, well, it's hard to know how much of that is, just hype versus, what will actually happen.
Right.
But even if it doesn't quite live up to all the hype, it does make you think, you know. It raises some important questions about the future of work, about the role of AI in our lives, and, how we as humans will interact with all these increasingly sophisticated machines.
Yeah, these are conversations we need to be having now, like as this technology is developing.
Okay.
Okay, and let's not forget about the Tesla semi-truck either.
Hmm.
It might not be as flashy as, Optimus or as controversial as FSD, but it could really be a game changer for, well, for the trucking
Oh,
industry.
absolutely. It's a practical solution to a few different challenges, right? There's that shortage of truck drivers, there's the need for more efficient logistics, and then there's the whole push for, sustainable transportation.
Right. It's quieter, it's cleaner, it's potentially safer.
Yeah.
So while everyone is, so focused on the robots and the self-driving cars, the Tesla Semi could, kind of slip in under the radar and revolutionize the way we transport, well, everything.
Everything from those groceries to, like you said, building materials, all of it.
Exactly. And let's not forget about Tesla's commitment to sustainable energy solutions either. That solar roof, it might not be getting as much attention as some of their other, more headline-grabbing projects, but it's still an important part of their vision for, well, a greener future.
It is, and it just goes to show that Tesla is, well, they're more than just a car company.
All right, so what's a big takeaway here? I think it's safe to say that Tesla is a company that's always innovating, always pushing the limits. They're not afraid to take risks, and they've got a very, very clear vision for the future.
They do, and that vision is one where, technology is used to address some of the biggest challenges facing the world. It's ambitious, to say the least.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
This earnings call really gave us a glimpse into that future, a future where, AI, robots, and sustainable energy are all kind of woven together.
And it's a future that's both, well, exciting and maybe a little bit, daunting.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's going to
Yeah.
be fascinating to watch it all unfold.
It will. And we'll be here to break it all down for you, every step of the way.
Absolutely. All right, so now we want to hear from you, our listeners. What are your thoughts on all of this? Are you excited about, what Tesla's got planned for the future? Are you a little bit skeptical? Or are you somewhere in between?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Quarterly Call. For more episodes, please remember to rate and follow our show. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.